In the summer of 1940, Nazi Germany's advance across Europe seemed unstoppable. As the once mighty France teetered on the edge of defeat after a brutal campaign, Britain braced itself for invasion. Faced with this dire threat, British High Command made a bold decision. Every aircraft capable of flight would be called upon to defend the Commonwealth. Among these unlikely defenders was the de Havilland Tiger Moth, a simple biplane trainer never designed for combat, with a hidden potential for adaptation. Engineers quickly came up with a series of plans and designs to adapt the Tiger Moth for war. First, they fitted bomb racks capable of carrying up to 240 pounds of explosives. Student pilots prepared for the possibility of dive bombing enemy forces from altitudes as low as 500 feet, armed with only a pistol. Some crazier planned variants included paraslashers, blade-like attachments designed to disable enemy parachutists mid-air. Others underwent tests as chemical dispensers, with the capacity to spread dangerous substances over advancing ground troops. Despite its lack of armor, the Tiger Moth, a trainer once solely responsible for teaching the basics of flight, now prepared to defend the British shores from full-scale war. In the early 1930s, Geoffrey de Havilland, a visionary designer and the founder of the Havilland Aircraft Company, was hard at work, crafting what would become one of the most iconic training aircraft in history, the Tiger Moth. While he'd already developed the DH-60 Moth, a light and nimble biplane introduced in 1925 and a popular success among private pilots, with the Royal Air Force looking into modernizing its fleet, de Havilland set out to create a model that could not only train novice pilots, but also withstand the rigors of more advanced maneuvers, eventually creating the DH-82. With its classic biplane design, the Tiger Moth reflected a focus on practicality and durability. Powered by the dependable de Havilland Gypsy Major engine, the Tiger Moth could reach speeds of about 109 miles per hour with a service ceiling of 13,600 feet. The aircraft featured a wooden fuselage with fabric-covered, metal-braced wings. The slightly staggered upper wing was positioned closer to the fuselage to improve pilot visibility, a key feature for training. Inside, the cockpit was straightforward, with dual controls allowing both instructor and student to manage the aircraft. The instrument panel included only essential instruments. Following a maiden flight in October 1931, the DH-82 Tiger Moth's results were everything de Havilland had hoped for. The aircraft was immediately recognized for its handling characteristics. It was easy to fly, yet responsive, allowing students to make mistakes and learn from them without putting themselves in serious danger. The RAF quickly saw the potential of the Tiger Moth, and demand for the aircraft grew rapidly. By the mid-1930s, the trainer had established itself as an indispensable tool in the service's training arsenal, and de Havilland's factory was in full swing. While the Tiger Moth was designed with training in mind, its versatility and reliable design would soon see it adapted for far more innovative and unconventional roles, including the dawn of unmanned flight itself. As de Havilland expanded its production of Tiger Moths, the rising tensions, the growing likelihood of war in Europe, and the rapid advancements in aviation technology highlighted the urgent need for a realistic target to improve anti-aircraft gunnery training. At the time, traditional gunnery training methods, like targets towed by piloted aircraft, required cautious shooting and were no longer sufficient to prepare naval forces for the new challenges posed by faster and more powerful aircraft. With this, the Royal Navy sought to create more effective training tools in the shape of a pilotless aircraft, one that could take off, fly repeatedly across the gunner's line of fire, and be recovered for reuse if it wasn't destroyed. Building upon the experience gained a decade earlier with an earlier pilotless model called the Fairy Queen, de Havilland engineers rose to the challenge. They developed a new model for the Royal Navy, the de Havilland DH-82B Queen Bee, the world's first mass-produced, full-sized, reusable pilotless aircraft. The model likely got its name partly from its predecessor, the Fairy Queen, as their developments were intertwined. Geoffrey de Havilland, an enthusiastic amateur entomologist, had a habit of naming his early aircraft after flying insects, such as the tiger moth, fox moth, mosquito, and dragonfly. He likely chose the name Queen Bee to connect it to the Fairy Queen, and because it was the B model of the DH-82. Although it resembled the tiger moth to a casual observer, the Queen Bee was actually a hybrid, featuring the lighter and, most importantly, the more buoyant wooden fuselage of the DH-60 Moth and the higher dihedral wings of the tiger moth. There was another cardinal difference. It was completely pilotless. The Queen Bee marked a significant advance in multiple areas, particularly in the realm of radio control technology. Remote operation allowed a pilot or a controller to guide the aircraft from another plane, a warship, or a land-based control station. A user-friendly control panel featured a simple rotary dial for commands like turn left, turn right, and pitch up, while also managing ignition and throttle. Despite the panel's compact size, it connected to a radio transmitter as large as a delivery van. For safety and testing purposes, the front cockpit retained standard controls, enabling test pilots to verify remote functions mid-flight. The model could take off from runways or be launched from catapults, and could be recovered using floats, just like any other aircraft with an actual pilot. When used during training, the Queen Bee quickly exposed major weaknesses in the Royal Navy's anti-aircraft gunnery and systems. During exercises, it wasn't unusual for one of these pilotless aircraft to fly repeatedly in front of an entire squadron for well over an hour, only to be ordered to land without a single hit. Such a case occurred right in front of His Majesty King George VI. Invited to observe a Royal Navy gunnery demonstration featuring the Queen Bee, the Royal stood on the deck of a ship to watch the men, who were likely about to risk their lives defending the nation, perform gunnery training exercises. As it took off into the air, the model darted across the gunner's sights, simulating real-world aerial threats with unprecedented realism. So much so that despite the best efforts of the naval gunners, the Queen Bee remained untouched. The king watched, his expression growing increasingly perplexed. Frustrated by the display, a high-ranking officer reportedly leaned in and angrily muttered to his subordinate, ordering the operator to dial spin. Following this command, the Queen Bee suddenly plummeted into the sea, creating the illusion of a successful hit. While the Royal Navy, British Army, and Royal Air Force extensively used the Queen Bee to enhance gunnery accuracy for a few years, the Navy shifted to other emerging technologies like radar range finding and early computers to ensure their anti-aircraft defenses could match the threats posed by modern dive and torpedo bombers. By then, the de Havilland Queen Bee had made a permanent mark in history. Undoubtedly the first truly successful pilotless aircraft, nearly 400 units of the Queen Bee were produced by de Havilland over several years, and its cutting-edge technology led it to be frequently demonstrated to dignitaries. However, the exact number is uncertain, as many were destroyed during training before being officially registered. In 1936, Admiral William Harrison Stanley, the United States Navy's representative at the London Naval Conference, witnessed the Queen Bee in action during a live firing exercise. In complete awe, upon returning to the United States, he initiated renewed research into remotely piloted aircraft like it. Not long after, the Navy's Bureau of Aeronautics appointed Lieutenant Commander Delmer Farnay to lead a project to develop the system. Within months, 2 Curtiss N2C2 fledgling and 2 Stearman training biplanes were fitted with equipment similar to the Queen Bee. Despite not being de Havilland models, the nickname drone, a term used in beekeeping to describe male bees that serve the queen, began appearing in documents related to the American project. According to some accounts, Farnay himself coined the term drone as a deliberate nod to the de Havilland Queen Bee. With this, the modified Tiger model paved the way for future generations of increasingly capable aircraft controlled from great distances. But the story of the de Havilland Tiger Moth was barely beginning. As the storm clouds of World War II gathered, more than 1,400 de Havilland Tiger Moths were already in service across the British Commonwealth, both in military and civilian roles. With the outbreak of hostilities, a large portion were swiftly pressed into military service. The Tiger Moth soon became the backbone of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, giving thousands of aspiring military pilots their first taste of soaring in the skies. During a normal flight, the Tiger Moth was generally docile and forgiving, making it ideal for training fighter pilots. However, it wasn't without its challenges. During aerobatic and formation training, the aircraft demanded skill and concentration, and a botched maneuver could easily lead to a stall or spin. The Tiger Moth's role extended far beyond the training fields, especially during the bleak early days of the conflict. In December 1939, faced with a critical shortage of maritime patrol aircraft, RAF Coastal Command turned to this versatile biplane, and 6 flights of Tiger Moths were tasked with coastal surveillance. During their missions, dubbed Scarecrow patrols, pairs of Tiger Moths, armed only with a flare gun and determination, had the task of forcing any approaching U-boats to dive, with one aircraft maintaining watch. At the same time, its partner sought out naval patrol vessels. In the absence of radios, each aircraft carried a pair of live pigeons in a wicker basket, a lifeline if forced to land at sea. Occasionally, they even carried a 25-pound bomb, though no records indicate it was ever used in combat. As 1940 dawned, the war showed no signs of abating. The United Kingdom found itself under unprecedented pressure, forcing military brass to make rash decisions. Soon, the humble Tiger Moth would be called upon to play an even greater role in the defense of the Commonwealth. In 1940, with France about to fall after a rapid and devastating campaign, the British government, fearing something similar could happen to them, urgently ramped up anti-invasion measures. As the Royal Air Force clashed with the German Luftwaffe in the fierce struggle for control of the skies during that same summer's Battle of Britain, an Air Ministry meeting laid out bold plans to utilize a wide range of aircraft should an invasion become imminent. The plan, known as Operation Banquet, made it clear that no aircraft was to be dismissed for lacking minor refinements. If it could fly and drop bombs, it would be put to use. Among the various strategies under Operation Banquet was Banquet Light, which aimed to create strike forces composed of the Havilland Tiger Moth biplanes and other light aircraft from elementary flying training schools. In early July, around 1,000 aircraft, ranging from Tiger Moths to Wellington bombers, were prepared for anti-invasion operations. One of the suggestions made by de Havilland proposed converting the trainer into a makeshift bomber by equipping it with 8 20-pound bomb racks beneath the rear cockpit. Alternatively, the bomb racks could be mounted 4 on each side under the lower wings to avoid balance issues. The heavily modified aircraft received satisfactory reports during trials, including trials with a 240-pound bomb. Another branch of this massive operation, named Banquet Light Strike Force, was intended for Army cooperation, specifically targeting concentrations of airborne troops or soldiers landing on the beaches. To this end, 2-seater Tiger Moth bombers would be flown solo at low altitudes, where pilots would identify enemy targets, climb to 800 feet, and then dive to 500 feet before releasing their bombs. Most of these pilots were students who had yet to graduate, and their training plan introduced these trainees to bombing early in their instruction. The men were directed to, quote, take every opportunity to carry out practice bombing, and without access to dummy bombs in early 1940, training exercises involved instructors flying from the front cockpit, while house bricks were thrown from the rear cockpit as makeshift bombs. Another, much more radical idea of proposed Tiger Moth variants involved the Paraslasher, a scythe-like blade attached to the aircraft, intended to cut parachutist canopies as they descended. The type was also tested as a dispenser of Paris green rat poison against ground troops, with powder dispensers mounted under the wings. About 350 aircraft were available for the Banquet operation, but the Tiger Moths, their lack of armor and guns, and most importantly, their inexperienced pilots would have been highly vulnerable to enemy aircraft, making the plan widely regarded as a one-way only mission. Thankfully, what seemed to be an incoming invasion never occurred, as the Royal Air Force successfully defended Britain during the Battle of Britain, rendering the desperate measures of banquet light unnecessary. After this, the model remained as the Commonwealth's primary trainer. By 1945, British production of the Tiger Moth came to an end, with Morris Motors having built a total of 3,433 units. Beyond British shores, the Tiger Moth was also purchased and used by several other nations, including Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and India, where it served both military and civilian purposes. The de Havilland Chipmunk, introduced in 1946, succeeded the Tiger Moth as a primary trainer. After the war, many Tiger Moths that had been commandeered for military use were returned to their original civilian roles and owners. As a result, a large number of the models became available for purchase by flying clubs and private individuals. Today, some of the de Havilland Tiger Moths, arguably known today as the world's most famous training aircraft, continue to fly as of 2024.